to you all. Sorry for the interruption. Most respected principal of the college, Dr. Kite Runner, Chairperson of the International Conference, Dr. Nanduri Raj Gopal, Director, Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dr. Regin Sylvest, President, Cape Comrade Publishers, coordinators, chair advisors, heads and faculty members from various institutions, and my dear students. On behalf of the Department of English of Sri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women, I'm greatly honored to extend my warm notes of welcome to you all for the two-day international conference on Commonwealth literature, comprehensive and critical perspectives. I place my foremost notes of gratitude to our esteemed management, the SNR Sons Charitable Trust, for enabling us to conduct events catering to new perspectives and analytical thinking all throughout the year. I present my warm notes of welcome to our beloved principal, Dr. K. Chitra ma'am. She is an able leader and a motivating factor behind all our endeavors. Her meticulous work culture and systematic planning has truly brought out the best from each one of us. She is a great source of inspiration, and we welcome you warmly, ma'am. I extend a warm note of welcome to the keynote speaker of the international conference, Dr. Nanduri Raj Gopal. I deem it a great honor to welcome and introduce this eminent personality to the audience. Dr. Nanduri Raj Gopal is the Associate Professor and Head of the Department of English and Hindi, and also the Director, Center for Tribal Literature of America, the Central University of Himachal Pradesh, Dharmashala of Kangra district. He obtained his PhD from Mahatma Gandhi Kashi Vidyapeeth, Varanasi in the year 1993, specializing in Indian English literature, mystical tradition, and linguistics. He has received many awards for his extraordinary work, the first being the award for the Best Research Associate by the Inter-University Center, Indian Institute of Advanced Studies, Shimla, in the year 2001. He has obtained the award for his minor research project on interdisciplinary study entitled Freud, Psychological Categories and Harold Bloom's Literary Theory by the University Grant Commission in 2001. And Dr. Y.S. Parmar Award for Literature by Himachal Pradesh, Sirmaur Kala Sangam in the year 2010. He has received the Vidya Visharat Samman Purashkar by Himotkarsh Sirmaur in 2013 and a Certificate of Honor awarded by the Health and Family Welfare Department, Zonal Hospital, Mandi, Himachal Pradesh. He has about 27 years of experience and has published 3 books and 15 papers in national and international journals. A great man does not seek applause or praise. He seeks the truth. He seeks the road to happiness, and what he ascertains, he gives to others. Thank you so much for having inspired us endlessly, sir. We are indeed greatly honored to have you here to chair the proceedings. I extend my hearty welcome to Dr. Regin Sylvest, President of Cape Comrade Trust. We deem it a great privilege to collaborate with Cape Comrade Publishers. Dr. Regin has organized more than 35 international conferences and has published more than 15 conference proceedings with ISBN numbers. He is the main steering head behind CWL CCP 2022, and he was kind enough to give suggestions and directions for organizing this event. I take this opportunity to thank and welcome him today. I also take this opportunity to share that the proceedings of this conference will be published as a book by Cape Comrade Publishers. My respectful regards to the coordinators of the event, Dr. Shubhra Jambal, Assistant Professor of English, Government College of Education, Jammu and Kashmir, Dr. Shailaja Vasudeva, Associate Professor, Department of Political Science, Shahid Captain Vikram Batra, Government Degree College, Kangra District, Himachal Pradesh, and to the Chair Advisors, Dr. Mamunur Rahman, Professor, Department of English, Islamic University, Bangladesh, Dr. Rosie Chamling, Associate Professor, Department of English, School of Languages and Culture, Central University of Sikkim, Dr. Suchitra Vashisht, Associate Professor, Department of English, FMEH, and Dr. Morbi Roshan, Bangor University, United Kingdom of Lords, Poland. Dr. Prachi Priyanka, Assistant Professor, School of Humanities and Social Sciences, Sharda University, India. K.R. Abhimanyu Dev Singh Bilwaria, Director, Communication County, Jammu and Kashmir. And Dr. Ankita Gupta, Head, Department of English, GGDSD College, Keri, Gurna, India. Dr. Ruth Magdalene, Assistant Professor, Christu Jayanti College, Bangalore, and Dr. Ilangodai, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Vellalar College for Women, Erode. Thank you all for advising us with regard to this organizing this great event. I also feel greatly honored to welcome the heads, faculty colleagues from other prestigious institutions for having accepted our invitation in the first hand and having turned up today. My special notes of welcome to the under and postgraduate students, scholars, and researchers from various universities and college. And I also thank you for sending us your abstracts and papers. We have about 60 papers and 15 plenary sessions today. All this was possible only because of you. I also extend my hearty welcome to the team of my faculty colleagues from the Department of English and the student coordinators of the conference who kept the wheels running at odd hours in spite of their busy schedules. Thank you all. I now take this opportunity to introduce the theme of the two-day international conference on Commonwealth literature. So Commonwealth literature gives us the pleasure and enjoyment as it is more relevant to us than American or British literature because it is very much connected with Indian writings and it is very, very familiar and close to us because it reflects our own problems. It has got a kind of a universality of the great writers and the characteristics which are shared by Commonwealth literature are common to all the countries which come under the name of the post-colonial nations, all 53 countries. So one can observe there is a common thread which runs through this literature and these common literatures make this literature a very unique one. So this validity in the Commonwealth literature and its national identity very closely stand together. So as William Walsh says, the germ of the Commonwealth literature is in the expansion phase of the British Empire. Thus we have the supreme advantage of communicating with people in more than half the globe, and yet we communicate as what is peculiarly our own way in the depth of our being. So to quote the Nobel laureate and one of the greatest names in Indian writings in English and one of the most sought after Commonwealth writers, Rabindranath Tagore, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high, where knowledge is free, where the world has not been broken up into fragments by narrow domestic walls, where words come out from the depth of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfection, where clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sand of dead habit, where the mind is led forward by thee into ever-widening thought and action, into that heaven of freedom, my father, let my country awake. Let this academic gathering awaken the stream of reasoning, tuning with perfection, leading to liberation. I welcome you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Integrity, insight, and inclusiveness are the three essential qualities of leadership. We have here such a great and inspiring leader and pathmaker of our institution, Dr. K. Chitra, principal of our esteemed institution. Let me take honor to welcome her for the inaugural address.
Happy morning. It's a pleasure for me to be a part of this Commonwealth Literature Forum. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this forum. Let me first acknowledge with gratitude the presence of Dr. Nanduri Raj Gopal and the editor of this Cape Cameron Press India, Dr. Regin, and all other invitees and delegates for this conference along with my faculty team. I would like to congratulate Dr. Anandi and all the faculty members along with the team of members who have been very much into the organizing of this particular program, the advisors, the organizing secretaries, and the Dr. R.S. Regin for being instrumental in organizing this conference, two-day international conference on Commonwealth literature. As a person not from English literature background, I understand the importance of reading, which is becoming rare nowadays. Reading, or if it is not reading, at least listening the books is very, very important. But that habit is becoming very rare today. In this context, the International Virtual Conference on this Commonwealth literature, I'm sure will open up the eyes of many. And the interesting sub-themes are identified right from children literature, green literature, food literature. A lot of topic on emerging contemporary trends are being identified by the organizers. So I congratulate you on all this. From my perspective, learning opens up the mind. It opens up the entire dreams about the world which is not known to us. And it is a way through which you can see how the other people have lived, led their life and succeeded. or what is that they have undergone from which we can draw lessons to live our own lives in a better way. So in this perspective, I'm sure this today conference would be giving a lot of insights and perspectives for the audience to know and to live their lives in a better way along with doing research. So this conferences, whether it is in person or in virtual mode, will enable us to interact and network with other people from different parts of the country. And I'm happy to know that 60 papers are going to be presented under 15 plenary sessions. And we also have an address by Dr. Alexis in the later part of this particular program. So this is going to be an exciting and an overwhelming sessions for all of us, and a learning session with a lot of insights. And please do utilize the networking opportunity so that we may collaborate with each other and try to do research in the new contemporary trends which is upcoming in this particular scenario. So let me once again congratulate the English department. They have been playing a very good role, or very great and indispensable role in the development of English communication skills and literature in our college specifically. They have been taking care of organizing various programs to develop the LSRW skill, taking care of oral and standardized test of English proficiency. They have been instrumental in running the Beck course. And so a lot of initiative has been taken by the English department to ensure that LSRW of skills of the not only the students but the faculty and the non-teaching has been holistically addressed. So at this juncture, let me congratulate you, the entire team of faculty of English department and Dr. Anandi for taking into account in your perspective development of LSRW skills and all other roles which you have played in encouraging the students and their passion for the English literature. So let me congratulate and wish you all a great learning session. Thank you. Over to the MC, please.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful words and encouragement. The key to growth is the introduction of the higher dimensions of consciousness into our awareness. Let me call upon such a great person, Dr. Nanduri Raj Gopal, Associate Professor, Head Department of English, Director, Center for Tribal Literature of American Central University of Himachal Pradesh, India, for the keynote address.
Thank you very much. First of all, I extend my thanks to Ma'am K. Chitraji, Principal of Shri Ramakrishna College for Women, and HOD Ma'am for introducing me. A very good morning to all the distinguished scholars and leading experts for joining this virtual session today. I commend and thankfully acknowledge the organizers, both the Department of English of Shri Ramakrishna College of Arts and Science for Women, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, and their collaborators, Cape Comorin Trust, India, for coordinating this two-day international conference on Commonwealth literature, comprehensive and critical perspective. Well, as the brochure was shared with me, I could see that the number of subjects which were mentioned in that, this forum manifesting various significant themes covering a wide range of subject or wide spectrum from minority literature, diasporic literature, children's literature to green literature and globalism. Is indeed, I think, is going to be an enriching experience for all the participants and presenters here. As I said, we are going to have very thought-provoking sessions on diverse ideas and premises in this conference. I today propose to deliver my ideas on culturally diverse literature and its enormous importance for us today. So I'll just give you in brief as to how I have designed this presentation today. In the beginning, I'll be giving you a little idea about culture, what culture is all about. And of course, some of the prominent personalities of the world, what is their take on to talk to you about culture as such, like ranging from personalities like T.S. Eliot, and then anthropologist Samuel P. Huntington, and Mahatma Gandhi, Amir Khusro, and so on and so forth. And from there, I'll be moving on to multiculturalism, what multiculturalism is all about, and its pros and cons, and people talking for it, and people standing against it. And from there, gradually, I will move on to literature and culture, and how they are interrelated, and how they are going to help us in order to decode this term called multiculturalism. And then I'll give some examples from multicultural literature and let you know why such studies are becoming increasingly important, alongside some related issues also I'll be talking to you about, followed by some examples from text, and then I will conclude my lecture today. So, to begin with, I would like to quote culture as defined by the literary critic T.S. Eliot, who wrote back in 1962. To quote him, culture is a way of life of a particular group living together in one place, visible in their arts, in their social system, in their habits and customs, and in their religion. The 19th century anthropologist E.B. Taylor, she defines culture in somewhat different way.
Sorry for the interruption. I think the keynote speaker has got some network issues. Kindly hold on.
Am I audible now? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible now.
Yeah. I'll put off my camera for the time being. Otherwise, again, I may have some technical glitch here.
Yes, sir. Yes. Fine.
So I was talking to you about culture. So each culture has its own distinct essence and attributes. For instance, the ancient cultural legacy of India has had a profound influence on the global cultural panorama. People from diverse communities expressing in distinctive languages, consuming a variety of nourishments, and carrying out different rituals amicably co-occur in harmony in India, as epitomized by the Indian Sanskriti. And we know India's cultural heritage continues to thrive, retaining its original feature while adapting to changes. This unique attribute has been a primary source of its resilience. Also, the idea of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam has been a part of Indian tradition. How we know only a part of it as Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, always on and off we quote this, but it doesn't have anything to do with globalization. The concept of globalization has got commercial insights. But when we talk about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it talks something deeper and greater. And this is how in this Upanishadic shloka it goes. Ayam nijam paro veti ganana laguchetasam udhara charita namutu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So India has always been talking about this, that the whole entire universe itself is a family. When there is a family, there isn't any discord. Thus, India is a multicultural polity which promotes cultural diversity. According to Mahatma Gandhi, as mentioned in one of his works, the ideal for India is a synthesis of different cultures that have come to stay in India, that have influenced Indian life, and that, in their turn, have themselves been influenced by the spirit of the soil. Amir Khusro, in 1318, almost 1,000 years ago, talked about the glory of literature, language, and multilingual culture of India in his work, Nuh Sifir. It was later on translated into English by R. Rath and Fayaz Gwaliari and titled India as Seen by Amir Khusro. And the book was published in 1981, wherein they, after translating it, they wrote what Amir Khusro had the idea about India. Now, I shall put up my fifth argument to convince those who challenge me about Indian wisdom and learning. In the Dimna Khalila, which we very popularly know as Panchatantra, which is also an ancient work of India, there is only conversation of animals and birds. Had there not been an excellent flight of imagination in this work, the world would not have acknowledged its merit, because it is such a marvelous and meaningful work. It has been translated into Persian, Turkish, Arabic, and Dari. This book was written in India, and other languages have only borrowed it in their own way. Of course, can there be a better book of wisdom than the Dimna Khalila? The scholars of the world derive inspirations from it. This is what Amir Khusro had to say about Indian knowledge system. Today, almost every place occupied by us humans on the entire planet is culturally heterogeneous. In 2001, the General Conference of UNESCO asserted in its Universal Declaration on Cultural Diversity that cultural diversity is as necessary for humankind as biodiversity is for nature. A truly diverse society is one that respects and values the cultural differences among its people. Promoting cultural diversity strengthens humanity and ensures its long-term survival. Globally, we find multicultural societies characterized by people of different races and ethnicities living together in the same community. Multiculturalism can be traced back to the cultural upheavals of the 1960s in the United States, when civil rights, Native American, new ethnicity, and women's liberation movements shattered images of a unified national identity. Multiculturalism as a concept advocates that a society gets enriched by preserving, respecting, and even encouraging cultural diversity. In multicultural communities, people retain, pass down, celebrate, and share their unique cultural ways of life, languages, art, traditions, and behaviors. In this regard, I feel that Canada, it adopted multiculturalism as official policy in 1970s and 1980s. Similarly, the richness and plurality of Indian culture has received worldwide acclaim only because of its diversity and distinctiveness. Indian Constitution respects and promotes all cultural groups. The Indian literature over the years highlights the actuality and authenticity of its effective presence. Sociologically, multiculturalism assumes that society as a whole benefits from increased diversity through the harmonious coexistence of different cultures. Australia, for example, we know, is considered to be comparatively a successful multicultural country. We all know that multiculturalism typically develops according to any one of the following two theories. One is the melting pot theory, and the other one is the salad bowl theory. To briefly sum up, the melting pot theory of multiculturalism assumes that various immigrant groups would tend to melt together, abandoning their individual cultures and eventually becoming fully assimilated into the predominant society. This is one theory. And the other one that I just now talked about, the salad bowl theory, it describes a heterogeneous society in which people coexist but retain at least some of the unique characteristics of their traditional culture. Today, multiculturalism has acquired different dimensions and implications in different disciplines like politics, sociology, anthropology, and so on and so forth. Due to variety of interpretations, multiculturalism has become an issue of debate and controversy as well. Critics argue that the multiculturalism is more philosophical than practical. Not that all talk about it in favor of multiculturalism. Professor Brian Barry, a political theorist, challenged the basic assumptions of multiculturalism. He called it relativist. He did not stop with that. He went on saying that multiculturalism is anti-egalitarian, morally conservative, socially divisive, and subversive of political community. People are there having their own idea about an issue. Now, after giving you an insight into the term multiculturalism, I'll just move on to a related subject, a related topic, literature and culture. How do we know about a particular ism? So, literature and culture. So, before we discuss multicultural literature, it becomes necessary to briefly see the connect between literature and culture. Indeed, literature and culture are mutually related. Literature is a true depiction of human life, highlighting its cultural traits. William Henry Hudson, in an introduction to study of literature, defines literature is a vital record of what men have seen in life, what they have experienced of it, what they have thought and felt about those aspects of it which have the most immediate and enduring interest for all of us. It is thus fundamentally an expression of life through the medium of life. Unquote. A work of literature is an organic entity as described by Terry Eagleton. It embeds various values and cultural themes. We all know that a literary text originates consequent to various influences. It may talk about class and caste conflict. It may talk about gender biases, race, ethnicity, and then religious ideologies, and so on and so forth. The social fabric of India is complex and intricate. The various groups in India are based on caste, religion, language, and gender. The theme of identity, therefore, acquires importance in Indian literature. There have been discrepancies and disparities, but we find changes and transformations in modern India. Interestingly, multiculturalism grew in modern democracies as a way of compensating minority cultural groups for their past exclusion, for their past discrimination, oppression, and forceful assimilation into the prevailing dominant culture. Sorry. But not all the multicultural societies are successful in accommodating the discrepancies. And now, interculturalism, encouraging intercultural dialogue, is a part of our present day societal framework. Multicultural literature is a powerful medium to connect with people who have different experiences, who have different cultures, social and economic situations, and heritages, allowing us to communicate across cultures. Such literature describes how people live in various parts of the world. To put it in another way, we can gain insight into their culture and beliefs. It is found that the literature about the socio-cultural experiences of underrepresented groups is generally written by those who are members of these underrepresented groups and or those who fall within the category of dominant groups. Multicultural literature in that way is important for a variety of purposes. But its most significant achievement is its ability to bring people together across cultures, ethnicities, and nationalities too. It aids in the creation of a community that is cooperative, humane, and all-embracing.
Professor R.S. Bishop, who is considered as the mother of multicultural literature, she wrote in 1997, and she came forward with some 5 functions of multicultural literature. The literature provide knowledge, offer varying perspectives, promote appreciation for diversity, support critical inquiry. Does it provide enjoyment? So these were different functions that she enumerated about multicultural literature. The inclusion of multicultural literature in a country's various schools and university curricula confirms that minorities are valued in the society. This inclusion, it is claimed, was made to correct what is perceived to be a Eurocentric perspective that overemphasizes the contributions of white European colonial powers while underemphasizing indigenous peoples and people of color. Till the middle of the 20th century, Indian history was conceived and presented in terms of a Eurocentric outlook by British and European historians. The early history of India, which was completely lost, was rediscovered. And how we lost that, it's a long story. I don't want to go into that. Again, this history was rediscovered by these foreigners, and it became susceptible to the impact of Western ideas and prejudices. Similarly, Native Americans are a significant part of American history, but their stories are rarely told in history textbooks. Starting a lesson on Native Americans and Europeans' relations with a Native American story would not only expose the American students to a new perspective, but also teach them about another culture and group of people who are frequently overlooked. Of minority cultural groups in a variety of fields have been added to curricula in order to give special recognition to contributions that were previously overlooked. If we consider the pictorial books for children, a boat by Australian author Liz Lofthouse, which was published in 2007, tells the story of a young girl whose family lost almost everything on a brave journey to start a new life far away from their home in Afghanistan. Of refugees and asylum seekers. The author was inspired to write after hearing stories of the Hazara community, who now live in Perth, Australia. Thus, literature encourages us to examine the world critically and gain a better understanding of the global context by allowing us to indirectly experience the feelings and emotions of others. The theme of cross-cultural friendship is mirrored in Just One Wish, a lovely story by the Australian author Sally Rippin, who wrote this in the year 2009 about overcoming diversity. It talks about how Penny, a new arrival to Australia, initially struggles with the English language and feels alienated until she befriends her hearing-impaired art teacher, Mr. Whitehorse. If we look at a few more examples, if we surf the African American literature, Maniac Maggie is a novel written by American author Jerry Spinelli. And it was published in, I think, 1990, exploring themes of racism and inequality. It follows the story of an orphan boy looking for a home in the fictional town. Is described as harshly segregated between the blacks and whites. Says the following about this novel, Maniac Man. Here, this unusual novel magically weaves timely issues of homelessness, racial prejudice, and illiteracy into a complicated story rich in characters and details. An energetic piece of writing about birth with creativity, enthusiasm, and hope. Joseph Bruchac, novel Code Talker, 2005, is about Navajo tribes. He happens to be a tribal American writer. So he talks about Navajo tribes' role in helping the US win World War II. That book mentions Navajo code talkers were an important part of the United States effort during World War II, sending messages back and forth in an unbreakable code that used their native language. They fought in some of the war's most intense battles, and their code saved countless American lives. Despite this, their story was kept under wraps for more than 2 decades. This novel honors the Native American men and the Navajo culture and language. An excerpt from an interview with Joseph Bruchac way back in 2008 on 26 February. It's very interesting, and therefore I'm just quoting to give you an idea as to how important this multiculturalism is all about. My novel about the Navajo code talkers, it took me a decade to get to the point where I felt I could begin to write that novel. I was interested in the subject 20 years before I ever wrote the book. So, having said that, let me back up. It does not matter if you are in or outside of a culture. What matters is what you do to get inside that culture as a writer, which means you don't have to be a blood quantum, but you do have to have the ability to listen and to learn. I would never say that anyone would have to be Abenaki to write about Abenakis well, but I would say that they would have to work a little harder to get rid of some of the weight of assumption that has already been placed on their shoulders. Examples of multiculturalism are found worldwide. One novel that presents this well is The Kite Runner, published in 2003 by Afghan-American novelist Khaled Hosseini. Events such as kite running are deeply rooted in Afghan culture. In the story, set in Afghanistan and the United States, we follow the journey of our protagonist, Amir, as he struggles to gain the approval of his father, Baba. Amir and Hassan are friends, even though they are from different social classes. And throughout the novel, we see the cultural importance of friendship, cultural importance of family, and the division of classes in society. This is one example. Another, I'll take you to Nigerian novelist Chinua Achebe, Things Fall Apart, which she wrote in 1958. Things Fall Apart is considered a modern African novel, although published about 60 years ago. The novel takes place in the 1890s. This novel deals heavily with the effect of colonialism on the native people of Africa, in addition to examining the traditional culture of the Nigerian villagers in the novel. A Fine Balance by Rohinton Mistry, it was published in 1995, describes the hardships of poverty in India and the prejudice and inequities of the caste system with brutal grit through the portrayal of 4 Parsi characters during the emergency era. Another example, Purple Hibiscus, based on the theme of religious hypocrisy and plight of colonized Africa by Nigerian novelist, was published in 2003. This novel is set amidst the political turmoil of post-colonial Nigeria, 1960s, prior to Nigeria's civil war. Religious beliefs clash, and politics, social upheaval, tradition, romantic love, truth, feminism, education, and nature all play prominent roles in the text. Similarly, in 2010, Shri Ashok Chaskar conducted a thorough investigation of some Indian English novels within the framework of multiculturalism. First, he referred to Multiculturalism Anand's Untouchable, where the author exposes clash between the dominant and minority cultures and the grim realities of the caste system. We have Khushwant Singh's Train to Pakistan, presents a tragic tale of partition in Indian history. The storm of partition culturally and socially separated people on the subcontinent. Anita Desai's Bye Bye Blackbird deals with Indian immigrant problems in England. And then The God of Small Things is a story about the childhood experiences of fraternal twins whose lives are destroyed by the love laws prevalent in 1960s Kerala, India. Dear esteemed scholars, this was my small tribute to the great writers of multicultural literature. What we realize here is that multicultural literature is based on realism and its subject matter or themes center around issues related to race, class, and gender. It opposes social injustice and cultural conflicts among the people of different ethnic, religious, and social backgrounds. Often it focuses on the social contexts in the multicultural societies, the experiences of the people of these societies, issues of refugees and migrant cultural minorities, experiences of racism and hostility, the sense of rootlessness, and the search for identity. Multicultural literature promotes the interaction across diverse backgrounds. In recent times, greater prominence has been given to the literature of indigenous people. Multicultural literature promotes positive self-esteem and reduces feelings of isolation. It has the ability to instill a sense of respect, empathy, and acceptance. Multicultural literature is a powerful tool for bridging the gap between people of various cultural backgrounds. With recent global events, it is more important than ever that we avoid becoming ethnocentric. Cultural barriers can be broken down by reading a variety of multicultural literature. As citizens of the 21st century, we are global participants. Therefore, cultural sensitivity is essential. With that, I wind up my deliberation today and give the mic to the organizers. Thank you very much for a patient hearing.